In the early 2000s, one name ruled the world. It wasn't a country, it wasn't a king, it was a company. Nokia. They controlled nearly half of the global phone market. Think about that for a moment. For every 2 phones sold, one was a Nokia, in the hands of business leaders in New York, in the pockets of students in Beijing, the lifeline for families in remote African villages. Not just a company, a global phenomenon and an empire, built on simple technology, built on durable hardware, built on reliable systems. Their phones were legendary. They were tough. Batteries lasted days, not hours. They were easy to use. The iconic Nokia ringtone defined a generation. It echoed in cafes. It echoed on street corners. It echoed in homes around the planet. And the brand became synonymous with connection. The first mobile phone for millions. The company seemed invincible, a titan that had mastered its craft. It had won the hearts of the world. No one could imagine a future without them at the top. But empires, no matter how vast, can crumble. Today, Nokia's dominance is gone. The name that once defined an industry is now a whisper. The king has been dethroned. Market share that once approached 50% has vanished, swallowed by new rivals with new ideas, a tale of pride, missed opportunities, the relentless, unforgiving pace of technological change. How does a giant fall so far, so fast? How does a leader with every advantage lose its crown? This is the story of Nokia's rise to the peak and the story of its shocking, sudden collapse. Our story begins when Nokia was at its zenith. It was a time when the mobile phone was becoming an essential part of modern life. Nokia was not just a participant in this revolution, they were its chief architect. They didn't just sell phones, they sold a promise, the promise of staying connected, the promise of a device that would not fail you. Their success was built on a simple formula: listen to the people, build what they need, make it last. This philosophy created a bond of trust with hundreds of millions of customers worldwide, a level of loyalty that competitors could only dream of. The company's portfolio was a masterclass in market segmentation: simple, affordable phones for emerging markets, stylish, feature-rich models for the fashion-conscious, business-focused communicators for the corporate world. Each device was meticulously designed. Each one passed through rigorous testing to ensure it lived up to the Nokia name. Attention to detail and quality cemented their position as the undisputed king of mobile hardware. But beneath the surface, the seeds of failure were being sown. While Nokia perfected the phone of the present, rivals imagined a different future in garages and design labs. This new future was not just about calls and texts. It was about the internet. It was about apps. It was about a computer that could fit in your pocket. The smartphone revolution was coming. Tidal wave of innovation reshaping the landscape. Nokia held all the power, but failed to recognize the coming storm. Market leaders can collapse with breathtaking speed when they ignore innovation's currents. Their story is a stark, powerful, cautionary tale. No amount of success can protect you from obsolescence. No empire is too big to fail if leaders become complacent. Our story does not begin with a mobile phone. It doesn't even begin with electronics. It begins much earlier in the 19th century in the vast remote forests of Finland. In 1865, a mining engineer named Frederick Edestam established a wood pulp mill. A few years later, he opened a second mill near the town of Nokia on the Nokian Virta River. This location gave the company its name. For decades, Nokia was a quiet industrial player producing rubber, cables, paper. It was a world of heavy machinery and raw materials, a far cry from the sleek digital devices that would later define its legacy. Nokia Corporation was officially formed in 1967 through the merger of three companies: the original Nokia company, Finnish Rubber Works, and Finnish Cable Works. This new entity was a giant of Finnish industry, producing everything from tires, footwear, to television sets. The electronics division, established in the 1960s, was a small almost experimental part of the business. No one could have predicted that this tiny department would one day become the core of the entire enterprise. The pivotal shift came in the 1980s. The world was on the cusp of a communications revolution. Computers were getting smaller, and the idea of a portable telephone was moving from science fiction to reality. Nokia's electronics division began to invest heavily in telecommunications. It was a risky bet, a move away from the stable, predictable world of industrial goods into the volatile new frontier of high technology. They began to divest from the old industries, selling off the rubber and cable divisions. All resources were channeled into one ambitious goal: to become a world leader in telecommunications. A new Nokia, a company of circuits and signals, was being born from its ashes. The 1980s marked Nokia's entry into the nascent mobile phone market. These early devices were nothing like the phones we know today. The Mobira Talkman, released in 1984, was one of Nokia's first portable phones. It weighed nearly 5 kilograms, or 11 pounds. It was a car phone you could technically carry with you, but it was hardly convenient. In 1987, they launched the Mobira Cityman, the first handheld phone for the new NMT networks. It weighed a mere 800 grams and earned the nickname Gorba after Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev was famously photographed using one to make a call from Helsinki to Moscow. This single image was a marketing coup. It catapulted Nokia onto the global stage, associating the brand with power, modernity, and the breaking down of old barriers. Behind the scenes, Nokia was making strategic decisions that would secure its future. While competitors focused on analog technology, Nokia embraced the new digital standard, GSM. GSM offered better voice quality, more security, and the ability to send text messages. Nokia became a key architect of the GSM standard, which would become the dominant mobile technology across Europe and much of the world. This era was defined by a culture of engineering excellence. The focus was always on the user. How could the phone be made more durable? How could the battery last longer? How could the interface be made simpler and more intuitive? They were not just building technology for technology's sake. They were solving real-world problems for real people, laying the groundwork for a user-centric philosophy that would soon conquer the globe. By the late 1990s, Nokia was the undisputed world champion of mobile phones. In 1998, it officially overtook Motorola to become the best-selling mobile phone brand on the planet. The numbers were staggering. The company's sales were exploding. Its profits were soaring. Its brand was becoming one of the most recognized and valuable in the world. The Nokia 3310, launched in 2000, sold over 126 million units. It became a cultural icon for durability. Then the Nokia 1100, released in 2003, aimed at emerging markets. It sold over 250 million units. One of the best-selling consumer electronics devices ever. At its core was Nokia's mastery of the supply chain. The company could design, manufacture, and ship a new phone model with breathtaking speed and efficiency. Marketing was another strength. Like connecting people was a global promise. The iconic blue logo stood for quality and trust. No discussion of Nokia's dominance is complete without its most famous cultural contribution, the Nokia Tune. Along with customizable express-on covers and the game Snake, the mobile phone was transformed from a utility into a personal expression. Inside the halls of Nokia, the mood was one of supreme confidence. Success created a powerful sense of invincibility. The company was the undisputed king, and leaders and managers started to believe their own legend. From this culture of invincibility, a dangerous blind spot emerged. At the very peak of its power, Nokia was becoming dangerously blind to the revolution brewing just over the horizon. A widescreen iPod, a revolutionary mobile phone, a breakthrough internet device. January 9th, 2007. A date that would change the world of technology forever. On a stage in San Francisco, Apple CEO Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone. It was not just a new phone, it was a new category of device entirely. It had a giant multi-touch screen, a full web browser, and an operating system that felt years ahead. Back in Finland, Nokia's executives were dismissive. They looked at the iPhone and saw its flaws. They failed to see Apple was selling a new user experience. The following year, the storm intensified. Google and a group of manufacturers launched Android. Suddenly, there wasn't one competitor, there was an army. Narrator. Nokia was not without a smartphone strategy. It had one, and it was called Symbian. But Symbian was a product of a different era. Its user interface was clunky and unintuitive. Narrator BO. The OS that had been a key strength had become a heavy anchor, a technological straitjacket. Narrator 5.0. This conflict escalated into a full-blown internal civil war. The company was trying to fight a war on two fronts externally, while also fighting a civil war internally. And then there was the Nokia N9. This phone was a stunning piece of design and engineering. It was a glimpse of what Nokia was truly capable of. For a brief moment, it felt like Nokia had finally found its answer to the iPhone. But it was too little, too late. In February 2011, Nokia's new CEO, Stephen Elop, sent a memo to all employees. He compared Nokia to a man on a burning oil platform. Staying meant certain death. Jumping was a terrifying risk. Narrator NAAR was jumping. It formed a strategic partnership with Microsoft. Nokia phones would now run exclusively on Windows Phone. The promising N9 was effectively killed before it had a chance. The Lumia series was a collection of beautifully crafted smartphones. But great hardware could not save a failing ecosystem. It was caught in a vicious cycle. Not enough users to attract developers, and not enough apps to attract users. The decline was catastrophic. The company that once controlled nearly 50% of the global market saw its share plummet into the single digits. By 2013, the situation was untenable. In September, the final heartbreaking announcement came. Microsoft would be acquiring Nokia's devices and services business. It was the end of an era. The Finnish giant was giving up the fight. For many Finns, it felt like a national tragedy. Microsoft continued to produce Lumia phones for a couple of years, but it too failed. The Lumia brand was discontinued. The name Nokia vanished completely from the smartphone market. The story of Nokia is a modern epic, a tale of humble origins, a spectacular rise to unimaginable heights, and a fall so swift and so complete that it continues to stun the business world. Nokia's very success became its greatest weakness. The company grew complacent, blinded by its own dominance. It became a kingdom of hardware experts in an age when software was becoming the soul of the machine. It missed the turn, and by the time it realized its mistake, it was already too late. Ultimately, Nokia's story is a powerful and timeless cautionary tale. Market leadership is not a birthright, it is a temporary privilege. Complacency is the most dangerous enemy of success, and ignoring innovation is a direct path to irrelevance. The echoes of the Nokia empire serve as a stark warning to every leader, every company, every industry. The world will continue to change. New revolutions are always brewing just over the horizon, and even the biggest empires can fall, leaving behind little more than memories and a lesson for those who come after.